everybody. Welcome to the Gym Owners Podcast. On this very special episode, we have Kelly Morgan from Morgainz Fitness. Thank you for coming on the cast, Kelly. I know you're very busy. You have 4 gyms, franchise owner, franchise president. Thank you for coming on the cast.
Thank you for having me. I am excited to be here.
Awesome. I'm so glad that you came on. I just finished reading your blog that we featured on our Gym Insight website. And I saw that you kind of got into owning gyms because it was a retirement plan. Can you kind of go over what you meant by that?
Well, I think like most things, it didn't start out that way. As a registered nurse for 20 years, my husband's a police officer for that long. We moved from California to Pennsylvania, and there was not really a good gym here. So that's where the whole thing started coming from, was we wanted a better option. So that's how it started. But also knowing that going from California to Pennsylvania, some things here don't have good retirement in jobs that should have good retirements, sadly, which is why you have guys that are 70 years old still working on the street. Little frightening. So anyways, 1 turned into 2, turned into 3, turned into 4. So now that's our retirement plan now. So not that I'm planning on retiring anytime soon, because, obviously I'm only 25 and I have at least 40 more good years, but no, I'm just kidding. We love what we do though. So I think that once you have found something that you love to do, it's not work anymore. Even though of course there's work, there's lots of moving parts, lots of people that are, you have to be dependent on, and lots of cogs in the sprocket. But for the most part, the bottom line of helping people become the best versions of themselves through fitness, I love that. So awesome. I'm not really working. Yeah.
Would you say that there's anything that you guys do special? Like, what's your method to keeping people coming through the door, and not just, and once you sell them, what do you guys do would you say is different that keeps them at your facility for, like, you have a very good retention rate. Can you tell us anything that you do special to get people in the door and keep them as members?
I think that it's just that personal aspect of, Dave and I being involved and having a relationship with all 4 gyms. Obviously you can't know every single person, but just being at each one of them, at least once per week. And again, it's about the relationship with people and making sure they are having the best experience that they can have. So they appreciate the cleanliness. They appreciate the personal touch of being called by their first name, and really feeling somewhere that is comfortable as a family atmosphere, so that they're not intimidated. Again, and I think we talked about this on the blog, being a female, I make other females feel very comfortable, whereas it had been known as a male dominant lifestyle or profession. Not the case anymore. In fact, I would have to say that we're probably 55% male, 45% female in members, which is really cool. And all ages. So our youngest member is 11 and our oldest member is probably 90 something. So anything and everything in between.
That's awesome. What age do you guys encourage people to start joining the gym? Because everybody has a different answer. So obviously, like, you were successful, you have your own franchise, you're 4 multiple clubs. What age would you suggest to start letting kids start working out at the club?
So when we first started, which is over 10 years ago now, we did have an age limit. They had to be 16. But over time, we've learned that you can be 10 or 11 and still be coming in. I'm not saying they're not going to come in and squat 200 pounds. Obviously, they're still growing. You mess with their growth plates and things like that. But because it's such a family atmosphere, why not encourage your children to adapt healthy habits early on? Even though I got into fitness and lifting probably in my early 20s, oh my gosh, if I would have had the opportunity to do it in my teen years, looking back now, that would have been amazing. So again, we have that relationship with a lot of our members that then bring their kids with them. So it's pretty cool.
That's all. That like immediately, you're not just pigeonholing yourself to where college specials when kids come home from school. You have already kids there. And you're right. It's not the same as it was 20, like today's kids' lifestyle is sit at the computer, play on Roblox as early as 5 years old, and just change the games as they get older. And they're living a sedentary lifestyle. Like, I think more gyms should start to encourage the youth. Like you said, they're not going to come in and squat, but there's nothing that's going to hurt them from using a treadmill, elliptical, or resistance bands or stuff in the gym. I think it should be more encouraged to do what you're doing, letting kids that young come to the club.
Absolutely. I mean, and of course, there's different waivers. They have to stay with their parent. They can't be running amok around the gym. Sure. And sometimes, that has to be reminded. But for the most part, parents are very responsible. And, if I'm never one for unsolicited advice unless I see something like, hey, you're going to hurt your kid. How about we not do this? Yes. In the nicest way, obviously, because again, some people are offended or put off by unsolicited advice, but sorry, I'm like, I own the gym. So if I see something terribly wrong, you're going to hurt your kid or break stuff. Let's look at a better way to do that. It's a good way to say it.
Sure. I love it. I'm like immediately thinking of like report card specials to go on. Like, hey, first for a report card special, have your kids made whatever, we're having discounted memberships or something. I don't know. That's just, as soon as you said that, the wheels started turning in my head to like come up with things to start marketing to that. All right. So another thing that I wanted to ask was, I talked to a lot of gym owners, obviously with my job, and some people, even with one gym, they say they have no time. You have 4 gyms. How do you make the time? Because I know you also like to teach a class, which that if other owners heard that, they'd be like, what? Where does she have the time to have a private lifestyle and teach class and run 4 gyms? So can you explain, like what you mentioned in the blog about giving up control and go over that?
I don't sleep at night. No, I'm just kidding. There's really 4 of me. I'm just kidding. No one could handle 4 of me. It has been a growth track for me as well, because I am, I personally, I think OCD is a good quality for people to have. I love that. Whether that was just me being in the military or just, I was always perfectionist, always driven, always wanted to be better. So that makes you sometimes, perfectionist control freak. So it is therapeutic, if you will, knowing you can't be in 2 places at one time, let alone 4. So obviously we didn't start out with 4 clubs. So lots of trial and error. You have to trust people. You absolutely have to trust people, but you have to pick the right people and you have to incentivize them to be invested and be on your team. And sadly, I've made mistakes. I have trusted the wrong people that turn around and take training and information that we have given them and invested in them. And then they turn around and use it, we'll say, just against us or become competition, which, I mean, whatever, people are going to be people. So anyhow, still here 4 clubs later. I have learned to let go over time. And it's been probably the smallest little baby steps. And I really tried. And that's why I tell everyone that I hire, like, especially there's a manager at each club. And I'm like, listen, the last thing I want to do is micromanage you, because honestly, I actually teach 1, 2, 3, 4. I teach 4 classes a week at the gyms. I also teach at the local college. I do some extracurricular stuff. Like I work with our local hockey team. They are back in session starting next week. I worked with the rugby team this past week, just super fun stuff that I never thought I would be doing, but I love it. And then my main passion, truly, I have a 90-day program that I do for men and women, but it's usually women that do my program, that I'm like, give me 90 days, just do what I say. You will have results. Forget everything you think you know. There's no gimmicks. There's no magic pills. There's no magic bullets. You've been walking down the wrong road for far too long. You got to turn around and walk back. And sadly, it's uphill. And what I'm selling is not fun. It is practice, sacrifice, and discipline. So this is where I would live if I could. So I do body composition analysis with people, measure their metabolisms, give them their macro prescription that's customized to them. It's their jigsaw puzzle to put together. I know people are like, do you sleep at night? Seriously, you have all this energy. And I'm like, I know, but once you get me started on these kind of things, because this is what I love. So it'll just spew out of me because I live it. I am it. So I'm also, that's proof that what I'm saying works because I'm
Sure.
going to be walking advertisement for myself. At 50, you could do this forever.
Yes. Awesome. I just to sort of go back to the magic, because one of the problems that I hear from other owners is, how do you find employees? How do you just to find employees? Much less managers to give up control and trust. And I'm glad you said that, because people will call me up like, I need the software to do this. I need to do that. I'm like, there's no such thing as you can't just let a computer run your gym, because if you can do that, but if you do, you give up the customer service and friendly feel, and people start to feel like a number. So I kind of like what you said, where you have to trust them. There's going to be rules that they have to, they're just every job has rules. So you have to come up with your standard operating procedures and teach your employees to follow them. And there's repercussions if they don't follow them. But you have 4 gyms. How do you hire managers to give that control up? Do you start with like a front desk and train them to be a manager? Do you hire a manager outright? Like, explain how you do that.
So believe it or not, in current situation, my husband actually manages the Westmont gym, but I have a guy that he's a front desk person, but I feel like he's going to get elevated into that position. The other 3, I hired them outright as managers, like laid it out there. These are also people who are, they're not 18 years old. They have life experience. They have critical thinking skills. And, I interviewed all of them personally, and they actually range 2 guys and 2 girls. So look, I'm just even down the board. And one of them, he was 24, who moved on. He's in the blog. Wise beyond his years, probably because he's one of 9 children. He's the youngest of 9 kids. He left. He was there for almost 2 years and to go to grad school. So he's amazing. He's going to do great things in this life. Like, he's just one of those people that's just, no matter what he does, he's going to be successful. So I was sad to see him go, but I was so happy that he was part of the team. Plus, he was an IT guy, so he knew lots of things. So along with my IT guy, Chris, who you have chatted with, those skills are very necessary in this day and age where we are online with software and door control and things like that. You definitely need a reliable person. But my newest, moving our gym out of Evansburg into Jackson, my manager there, she's 70. So the work ethic is unbelievable. Computer, awesome. That's where they struggle, because it's just, there's that age where you're like, these ones have this great work ethic, but they're so scared of the computer. Then you have the youngsters who are like born with cell phones in their mouth. So they're like, oh yeah, I got this, no problem. But they want $15 an hour. I have to get off my phone and actually clean a toilet. Yes. So it's hard to find those right group of people. But I think, I hate to say it out loud, like right now, I just feel like things are really starting to mesh after the challenges of, 2020 being shut down for 2 months. Then it was really hard to find, the right people to work. But like you're saying, at the end of the day, we could go automated. Okay, cool. I can't find anybody to work. I can't produce a person, but that's not what I want, because this is a customer service industry. And we want that smiling, helpful front desk person greeting people. So thank God that's what we got right now.
Yes. And so how have you been so successful with keeping employees from quitting every week? Because I hear some horror stories where, I can't keep an employee here. Now, yes, you had that one employee move on, but that took a long time for him to do that. And he was very sad to do that. I remember. What do you do differently that others aren't doing that keep your employees at your facility?
I think that we're good to them. I really think that I'm super easy to work for. I'm pretty clear cut with here's the expectations, do a good job. I'll give you a raise. I'm open to any suggestions you have to better the club. And especially the ones that come to me, not just with the problem, but hey, here's this, and here's how I think we could solve this. What do you think about this? I love that versus just here, Kelly, hand this to me. So I think they feel valued and they feel part of the culture and the fit family that we have created. Now, the 4 gyms, each one has its own personality, spirit, if you will. And some people travel because anybody that's a member of ours, they can go to any of the gyms. And they're literally the way we're situated, north, south, east, and west. So it's kind of like they're all within, 45 miles of each other. So some people do that. But I think for the most part, each gym has its own personality and the manager is creating the vibe that's going on there. So, and each one is just different. And not good or better, just different. And different is good. Otherwise, how boring if we were all the same. So it's good. And I love it then when I see some of my, like say, I live very close to the Richland gym, which is the mothership. So I spend way more time at that one. But sometimes like I'll see people there that will say they'll pop into Somerset and they'll be like, oh my gosh, I went to Somerset. It's freaking awesome there. And I was like, I know, right? So it's really cool just because they just, you get in your own lane, in your own zone. And then all of a sudden you're like, hey, yeah, I do have these options. How about there's Morgainz here. And they'll just check it out. And I love to get that positive feedback. So I'm just like, yeah, it is a nice gym.
That's awesome. It's for as far as your employees, do you have them on like they're at that gym, or do you have them like switching up locations? Like one day they'll work here, or like how does that work
They're for the most part, they are they're pretty much at their gym, but because it's standard operating procedures, if you work at one, you can work at the others. It's just location of stuff. Hey, where's the cleaning stuff? Where's the bathrooms? Whatever. But same software, same door access, same procedure, same rules. I think that has to be. If you're going to clone what you do, it has to be the same. So you could work at any of them, but like from north to south, though, that would be the 45 miles. For the most part, they don't want to be driving 45 miles to go to work. But for the most part, the two that we have in Johnstown, so one in Richland, one in West Hills, those are only like 8 miles apart, but you have to drive. Like there's no easy way to get there. It still takes you like 15 minutes, but the staff have been very willing to cover each other. And, so those two kind of flip-flop the most, but it works out.
I like that. I like that better because if you have them stick to one gym, you could like kind of throw a competitive field at it. Like this gym, if the gym that makes the most gross this month or has the most walk-ins, or not have the most walk-ins, but can get people in the door that besides walk-ins, like there's all things that you can do to try to get the club be running optimally. And I do see that you're fun to work with, and that's one of the reasons why your employees stay there. I think a reason that if an owner is losing people, it's because from what I've seen, they're trying to make that employee another version of them, which is impossible. If you have that expectation, you're just going to always be mad and just pissed off. You can only make a person be the best of what their capabilities are. You can always try to train them, but you have to understand, okay, this person's he's never going to be able to do what I can do on this. Let's just cheer him on and acknowledge that when he does good things, we'll just get him to be the best type of employee that person can be,
Mm-hmm. Oh, for sure. I mean, I try to tell them at the end of the day, like, hey, this is your gym. If I didn't think you were capable of this, I just pay the bills here. So sometimes, joking, like depends on whatever day I go to say Somerset or whatever, they'll be like, oh boy, the boss is here. I was like, I'm not the boss. I'm like, she's the boss. And or sometimes someone will see me there and they'll be like, hey, and I let them say what they're going to say, but I'm like, okay, do you want this to get done and get it taken care of? And they're like, well, yeah. I'm like, I'm not the person to tell. I'm like, you should tell Melissa because she will make sure it gets done. I come here once a week. I'm not going to remember. And that's exactly the way it should be. She's managing the gym. Give it to her. I come in, visit for a little bit, make sure everything's looking pretty good. If I have clients, I see clients. And sometimes I do a pop-up class and go on about my day.
Gotcha. Yeah. A thing for new people that are maybe starting a gym, like if they're just going to start a gym, they've been thinking about starting a gym. I know people try to cut money where you and I know money shouldn't be cut. Like, for example, they may not get software. They have an Excel spreadsheet and they basically like, well, I'll just do my charge until I make enough money. So I get to end up in that hole of like, oh crap. Now it's going to be a problem, much less they just find the first software because they think all software is the same. And I'm not trying to make this like an infomercial, but you've had your experiences with bad software. Can you give any advice on new owners that basically life lessons that you've learned, not just, just things to look out for. How has things been since you've switched all clubs over to us, and go from there?
Oh my gosh. And so we've just been with you guys at Gym Insight for just over a month now. I think it is like a month and a week. And I freaking love it. So original software, it was okay. It was user friendly. The problem was, and again, in the beginning, there was just one gym. So it was still very taxing because I was still handling all of the billing. And our first gym, we had 500 members in the first month. So that shows that, we were not wrong in our thinking, like this town really needs the complete package. Sure. But the software itself was easy to use. It didn't talk to the access control system. It didn't. I had multiple different payment options. So at the end of the day, say somebody was a prepaid and they expired. Well, I had this list that I had to rewrite every single week. Then I had to be dependent on the employee working like, hey, this person did not come in and renew. You have to manually go in and shut their key card off. It was a nightmare. I had this paper, they used to make fun of me, I kept track of all the people that should have auto-billed. Mm-hmm. And then I went through every single day and crossed them off. And if they didn't, I'm calling them. So, okay, fine. That was a nightmare with one gym. When two gyms came, I'm like, oh my gosh, how am I going to do this? I still figured it out. Then there were 3 gyms. So ask me what I spent most of my time doing. Not just accounting. I'm chasing people for money. It was really, and it wasn't the best use of my time. And that was probably where the frustrating part came in. Then once we got club number 4, they had a different software, which was a billing company also. The door access talked to them. However, funny story. So we switched over to them. And at first it seemed like, oh, okay, this is great. They're doing the billing. Somebody doesn't draft. They're doing the phone calls, whatever. However, they morphed me into their new branch of door access. So I was basically the guinea pig. It was awful. So people are calling that their fobs aren't working. And I'm talking to like the owner of the company and they're like, I can't figure out why this isn't working. And I'm like, not my lane. I can't figure out why this isn't coming. So the only a few positives came out of COVID. They were the door access at that point in time. They were able to, shut all the clubs down, shut all access off so nobody could get in. I had a little mobile app on my phone so I could go in if need be, just to check on things or whatever, which we did. Anyways, so I tolerated them. Once we reopened, that was a nightmare trying to get the billing straightened out. And I had this email from Anthony that I was like, I remember this. And it was probably March of this year, I think. And I'm like, I need to relook at that because I'm so sick of this software. And the price kept going up. And I had 4 separate merchant accounts and all these different fees for each account. Like it was astronomical. Am I allowed to say like what I was paying?
Don't say the name. I don't want.
No, I won't say the name, but okay. Can I say the amount?
Sure. Yeah, go for it.
So 4 clubs, right? All, same software, fine. It was pushing $5,000 a month.
Oof.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's $5,000 a month. And the door system's not work. Like, this is the thing. I don't have a problem with things that cost a lot of money if they do. But if they're giving you the value for that, they should be rolling out the red carpet for you. Handling you with white glove treatment. That door system better be working, and I better not have to deal with an angry customer if I'm spending that kind of money. That's my thought of it. Not just because I work for Gym Insight, but that I've worked in the fitness industry for so many years. If that was me, I would be expecting that.
Absolutely, and it was the way it was sold. Of course, was. We had a number on the door that said, for the people who read signs, which is maybe less than 10% of people, if you're having trouble gaining access or trouble with your fob, call this number, right? Someone answers 24/7. No, they don't. Or you're on hold. Well, if you're a 3 a.m. person and it's Johnstown, Pennsylvania, and it's 12 degrees out and your fob doesn't work, you're super pissed off. You don't want to be on hold. You don't want to have to know are you freaking kidding me? You have to know your agreement number because your phone number didn't match. Honest to gosh. And, and I laugh about it now, but believe me, I was like, but when we switched to that system, we're talking 4 clubs now, we had to refob every single person. And that was a humongous challenge in itself. So remember when we first started talking, I was like, and that was part of my delay was in calling, probably because I was like, oh my gosh, the mere thought of that is giving me anxiety because there's just so many people. And some of them don't come to the gym. Okay, fine. Well, you don't care if your fob works because you never come, which is not what we want. But at the end of the day, you can't go pick everybody up and bring them to the gym. So anyhow, fast forward 5 weeks on with Gym Insight, winning. We're bringing the final club on next week. So I think we did all 4 in 6 weeks. And Danny told me that yesterday. He goes, I don't think any other gym owners we have did this fast. And I was like,
it takes works for both, like we can go as fast as the data that we're given. So I think everything all the way around by you, us calling you up, checking the data, going through, okay, everything looks good, straight through. 6 weeks for 4 clubs, I think is pretty good. I hear horror stories where one gym, it took about months and there's still a lot of cleanup afterwards. So yeah, you did an excellent job bringing all 4 clubs, over within 6 weeks. That was amazing.
Well, I mean, and again, the communication with you all has been fantastic. And that's just the key thing for a successful relationship. You have to be able to communicate. You have to be able to be heard, and you have to be able to, get your answers or your questions answered in a reasonable amount of time. Otherwise, you're just frustrated and you're like, oh my gosh, I made a humongous mistake. Well, I promise you, at no time in the last 5 weeks was I like, oh gosh, this was a mistake. Now, sure, are there little teeny tiny things with the software that I'm like, okay, I wish it would do this. Oh, well, whatever. It's not a huge deal. Like so far, it has been so easy. My employees love it. My husband used it really for the first time on Tuesday. And he was like, oh my gosh. I was like, right. It's so simple. Because like before you had to they're my gym members. Why do I have to call someone to change their home club or give them a refund back or something like that? That's
ridiculous.
That should not be. And that's not even a control issue. Wait, is it? No, it's not. It's an ease issue because now I'm either making a phone call and I'm on hold, or I'm typing in the chat bubble, or I'm sending an email like, hey, refund this person. Oh, okay, 3 to 5 business days or whatever. And then there's still like a follow-up if their money didn't get refunded or just whatever. So anyways.
I just think it's your gym. You should tell the software how you want to run it, not the software tell you how to run your gym. Like why? Not that I don't like talking to you, Kelly, but I don't want you to have to call me to issue a refund. I don't want you to have to call me to make that person go to that club. That should be a decision that the gym owner makes and decides if they want to do it. And there is no such thing as perfect software. I will be the first person to tell you, there's no such thing as perfect software. But to make a software that's good for a broad gamut of yoga studios, gyms, whatever, you can only, when you're doing a demo, just to keep in mind, this isn't just me because I work at Gym Insight. If you're out there and you're thinking about switching software, yes, you give me a call. But what you should do is a bunch of demos, have your pros and cons list, write it down, see how that demo works. The one with the most pros, check mark off. That's the one for you, But I will say, the way you guys have run your club and your employees have taken to this like a fish to water. They call every now and then with a little question here or there, like 30-second question. Like not what you would expect till, you tell your employee I'm switching software. That first thing's like, oh, we just learned this one. It took forever to do it. I think your employees, when I talk to them, they seem pretty happy over the phone.
Oh, absolutely. And now it's almost like when we hired a new person, they're getting 15, 20 hours of orientation because the software was so hard to learn and manage and just different things. Now I'm like, oh my gosh, people will learn the software in less than an hour. And guess what? If they don't learn it, there's a number that you can call and someone will answer. It's pretty fantastic. So I'm like from morning until evening because we know Danny's on the West Coast. Shout out to Danny.
Well, that's the thing. We do answer the phone. So there are software companies out there that I'm not going to mention any names. There's multiple where it's automated, or maybe you'll get take 45 minutes to talk to somebody, or maybe you can only, there's some out there you can't even call. You have to just email only. So we do try to make it a point where, hey, if we don't answer your phone call, I guarantee you're getting a call back in about 2 minutes. But, to go back to gym owners, because obviously if you're a gym owner, you're watching this, yes, that was useful information, but I want to go back into the guts of running a club. So with all of your experience that you've had with your 4 clubs, if you had a time machine that you could go back to the beginning and start it all over, what would you do different? Tell us what you would do different. Come on, give it to us.
Well, do you have another hour? We could talk about it. That's why we have franchises for sale. Because I'm like, listen, if there would have been this kind of option when we first started, you better believe that I would have done it. Because what did we look at? All the big gyms that, they're like, oh, boom, you got to have $250K in the bank, plus this, and this. And I'm like, okay. It's unnecessary. So back it the whole way up. We bought the wrong equipment. We bought brand new equipment because we wanted the lifetime warranty on it. Well, if you ask anybody, no, false, wrong. Where did that equipment come from? Ask me if that company is even in business anymore. Well, a month after we were open, like I said, 500 members, and we had 5 different welds break. That's probably a problem.
Yeah.
So needless to say, they're no longer in business. And we sued them. We won. Sadly, all of the owner's assets were in the wife's name. So we got nothing. So boom, right out the gate, there's probably a $200,000 mistake.
It's a lesson. Don't say it's a mistake. A life lesson. Yes.
You either win or you learn. And you just have to keep learning no matter what. No matter how times you get knocked down, you get back up. Even in the beginning. So we had this great business plan. We went to all the local banks because we wanted to keep it like in this specific Richland community where we live. Well, good plan, but no. 4 different banks. I'm like, why am I like, someone ripped the rug out from underneath me again? And why am I laying on the floor looking at the ceiling? And then just talk to the right person. They're like, hey, do you know this guy that works in First Bank? And I was like, I don't. Anyways, they're like, you should go talk to him. We went to talk to him. We were in his office 5 minutes. He's like, I freaking love you guys. We're doing this. So you got to have the right finance person that's going to help you. Unless, you're born with all this money, which was not us. I mean, granted, I was still working full-time as a nurse. He's full-time cop. So it's not like, we didn't have some assets, but not the required amount to get all of this going. So SBA did the initial loan. Oh my gosh, there were so many hoops we had to jump through. At the age of 40, my parents had to co-sign at 40. My husband's parents had to co-sign at 43. Anyways, that loan is paid for.
Wow.
So I know that was over. Well, it just got paid off last year, actually. So anyhow, so that was a mistake. We didn't have something in writing originally with our contractor, who suddenly had an architect at a different building who went in and drew all these plans. Well, you know how much an architect charges. We didn't even end up going with that building. We still got a big fat bill for that architect. And we were super ticked off at the contractor because we're like, we did not authorize this. He's like, we had this conversation. Anyway, so that was thousands of dollars in mistake. As soon as somebody found out we were going to do this, insurance agent called me, asked me how much I overpaid for insurance because it's just ignorance. Because you don't know.
Sure.
What else? I signed a triple net lease. So it was, anyways.
Yeah.
Needless to say, I've learned a lot of things. In the very beginning, we changed, I can't remember how we did our original pricing, but it was, and if you change your price, people lose their mind. Right. So we had a daycare we still have a daycare inside the gym, which we offered for free. We didn't even charge for it. That was a humongous mistake. So, because I'm paying a person or 2 people sometimes to be in that. So we changed that over time and we said, okay, that's fine. We have to justify this. So we're going to charge $5 per month.
which is simple. I mean, that's like, how do you get people to not abuse that? Like, I've worked at gyms where they had like daycare specials where it was like pay $100 for the whole year and you're done. And parents would drop off their kids at daycare and I would see them walk back out of the gym to like go shopping or something. I'm like, what? This isn't meant for a free daycare to drop your kid off to go shopping.
No. You have to remain on site. If there's a problem with the kid, you need to come and deal with your kid. Oh my gosh, it's so crazy. So we changed it to like $5 a month. Like people lost their shizzle over $5 a month. And I'm like, okay. So that was that. Then I can't remember, like moving forward or whatever, I'm like, okay, this whole daycare thing is going to drive me crazy because I'm like, it's such a small part of a big operation that we're losing money on. Well, when you are in business, you are there to make money. So obviously, if you have a part of your business that's not making money, you have to do something about it. So we changed it one last time. We're like, okay, you could do unlimited, $20 a month for one kid, 30 for two, 40 for three, whatever, or $2 per visit for non-members. Or I'm sorry, for members. We even let non-members bring a kid. They paid $5 as long as the daycare wasn't overrun with people. But slowly but surely over time, it sort of really dwindled. And I mean, there's like the summer was, definitely a decent amount of people utilize the daycare over summer. But honestly, COVID changed a lot of things for people. Just, I can't explain it, but I feel like it's going to go away just as quickly as it came here in the next 6 months.
Sure.
Maybe the next 2 months, till the midterms anyways. So I don't know. I don't really have the answer for that one. So when we left Evansburg and moved to Jackson, we did not bring daycare with us there just because
it's $20 anyways. You come whenever you want,
Exactly. So there was, and I had a few people ask like, hey, are you guys ever going to have daycare here? And I'm like, I'm not going to say never. Meanwhile, like
I wouldn't. Yeah. I mean, you come and sign up. You could come in at any time throughout the day. You have a key to my business. Find at some time to have somebody watch your key for 40 minutes while you come and get a quick workout. I don't care what time it is. You have access at all hours of the day. Yes.
So that was, then there's another employee you have to worry about showing up, doing a good job. So honestly, that was heady. But so for now we just have evening hours during the week, Monday through Thursday, and then Saturday mornings. And it works fine. People know when the daycare hours are. They bring their kids during the daycare time or they don't bring them. I mean, figure it out.
And any advice on leasing or buying? Because I know you have experience with that. So again, if you haven't bought a gym, I want to ask somebody that has very good experience with leasing versus buying the building. Yeah.
The first one obviously was a lease. Real quick, back to that original contractor, even though that was a major screw up with the architect, that without that original contractor, he financed the build out because we couldn't get a dime more than we got.
Sure.
Even with our parents co-signing, he financed the build out, which was over $100,000 in a building that I've been in for 10 years that I don't own and will never own. So I've only upgraded that person's. But in the beginning, most people do not have they're going to be struggling to have the the capital to build the gym itself with the renovations, plus the equipment, plus the flooring, plus all signage, like all the other things that add up very quickly. So it all depends. If you have a really good landlord that is reasonable and is going to treat you good and not, overcharge you and overpromise and underdeliver, nobody likes those people, then obviously stick with your landlord, especially if, you're just, you would be new at like, hey, we're just going to give this a try. Once though you understand what's going on and you can buy commercial property, now you have really something to sell moving on to the retirement portfolio. Because if somebody wants to just say, I just want your building, I don't care about the stuff inside of it. Okay. The price is still the price. Here it is. And you're done. Now, and you have assets that a bank is interested in. A bank is not interested in gym equipment. It's worth pennies on the dollar. Gym equipment is, even though expensive, is not worth anything to a bank. They don't care about it.
Thank you. You're the first person to admit that. I try to tell people that, like, what do you mean? I'm like, it means nothing.
It's not collateral. I know, but I just paid all this money for. I'm like, it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
go talk to your bank guy. Does he want your gym equipment? Because he doesn't. And the last thing he wants is for you to default on it. So, once you fill your building that you are financing with the bank with gym equipment, now it's, brick and mortar. Now there's much more value going on in there.
Your recurring revenue every single month, that's the value right there. If somebody just walks in, it's money being made. So if there was somebody that's sitting on the fence right now watching this, that's like, it's always been their dream to own a gym, aside from getting a Morgainz Fitness franchise and having all those things buttoned up for them, where it's turnkey, they have good software, they have good state-of-the-art, what advice would you give that person that may be watching this, that like it's their life thing to join a gym? Open a gym. Is there anything you would say to that person?
Don't expect to make $1 million, at least not in the first 10 years, because I'm still waiting, and probably 10 more years. No, I'm just kidding. Don't think it's easy. Don't think it'll run itself. Do your research, know your area, know your market, know your competition, know the people you hire, make them sign a non-compete clause. There's 7 free things right there. I mean, honestly, and that's another reason too, that we wanted to do this way, because we made it so reasonable. I mean, because we've made all these mistakes. Knowledge is power, and it is worth something. Yeah. We have 4 that work and make money in a small town America here. That's pretty much a guarantee that it will work if you drive it. You can't just set it up and leave it. You have to love it. You cannot just be, I'm just going to go and lift weights in my big gym, which, yes, of course, I love to do that. But there's a whole nother component that, you're married to it for a while. When you own a small business, it's not what you do, it's who you are. Yeah. And it becomes your identity if you want to be successful.
Sure. Oh, and all people, they see you're passionate about it. It makes them want to be like, I just think it makes a member feel so much better about the choice that they signed up at that gym when they see the owner there. They see the owner passionate. They see the owner being involved. They're not just coming in to like point at employees and tell them to do things and leave. It's a huge difference when they get to actually see the owner doing everything that everyone else is doing at the facility. There's owners that are taking out the garbage, that's really important. But that is awesome.
If I pop in like on a Sunday and I'm like, why is the spray bottle not filled up? So I'll go fill up the spray bottle, or just, whatever. It's just, and again, because I've done it for so long, and I'm like, granted, I'm not really staffing the gyms too much anymore, which is something I never would believe would have happened, but it's totally happening. I do occasionally with a heads up, but I'm doing so many other things now between classes, my program, training, working with the teams, which is really where I want to be. But I'm still there, and I'm still somewhat involved, and I can still answer questions though if somebody has a question. So,
sure, awesome. Well, before we go, I want to shout out your blog spotlight. If you would like to read her blog, just go through gyminsight.com. Can you guys see my screen?
I can see it.
Okay, sweet. Just go to gyminsight.com. Click on blog right here. And then scroll down right here. This is Kelly's write-up, where owning a gym, become a retirement portfolio. Awesome read. Everyone should go check it out.
That's me.
All right, Kelly, thank you so much for coming on here. I appreciate it. Every time we talk on the phone, I'm like, God, I wish I recorded that, because you have so much, you have some good advice of what's going on over at the club. Thank you so much for coming on.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. I loved it.
All right. Well, I will talk to you soon. And possibly when we get those other clubs, or I want to have you back on.
Okay. I would love to come back on, Anthony.
All right. Talk to you later. Have a great weekend.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.